Belgrade is the capital of Serbia, its largest and most populous city. All the most important and most interesting things happen here. In Belgrade, there are the largest stores, real masterpieces of architecture both literally and figuratively, fashionable cafes and nightclubs, and active student life flows as rapidly as the waters at the confluence of two majestic Balkan rivers, the Danube and the Sava. And by the way, you can admire this picturesque place here in Belgrade. And it is located not far from the city center. I will definitely show it to you, but a little later. Belgrade is a unique city. It is beautiful and gloomy at the same time. Walking around it, you can't help but think that this is exactly the real city of contrast. In Belgrade, there are very nice places with beautiful and unusual architecture that is truly impressive. And there are buildings and even areas that look, to put it mildly, creepy. For example, there is a lot of such architecture in the new Belgrade area. This area was built in the 70s, during the times of socialist Yugoslavia, and it is dominated by massive, concrete and gray architecture, in the brutalist style, of course. At that time, these buildings looked cool and modern, but now, after 5 decades, unpainted and without major repairs, they look unkempt and their appearance is more reminiscent of not a residential area, but a set for some movie about the post-apocalypse or something like that. Especially the famous 21 block, which is known not only for its gloomy buildings, but also for the fact that the main stronghold of fans of the football club Crvena Zvezda is located here. Where to go and what to see in Belgrade? I'll tell you. The Kalemegdan Fortress, located on a high hill and surrounded by a park of the same name, is the oldest and most important attraction of Belgrade. This fortress was known even in the times of the Romans, who called it Singidunum, was an ancient Roman city. What the Belgrade Fortress has not experienced during its long-suffering history, it was destroyed and rebuilt more than 100 times by the Romans and Byzantines, Turks and Hungarians, Huns and Goths. No, not these Goths, but these. The fortress also suffered greatly during the First and Second World Wars, but it was restored again, and now it pleases the residents of Belgrade and guests of the city with its monumentality. This is where you should come first, and not only for the fortress and the park, although they certainly deserve it, but also for the stunning panoramic view of Belgrade, the island of Veliko Ratno, which has long been an important military strategic point of defense for Belgrade and the very confluence of the two rivers Sava and Danube. The rivers have different colors of water, so it looks very impressive. We move to the very center of the capital of Serbia, to the Republic Square. In Serbian Trg Republic, in the Serbian language vowels, are often not pronounced. For example, if we say Serbia, a Serb will say Serbia without the letter E. Here on the square, surrounded by beautiful architecture, stands a monument to Prince Mihail. Let's meet at the horse, say, the residence of Belgrade, meaning this place. And nearby is the street of Prince Mihail, the most beautiful pedestrian street in Belgrade with many shops, cafes, and beautiful buildings. Be sure to walk along it when in Belgrade. It becomes especially lively in the evening. Another very pleasant and picturesque place for walks, both during the day and in the evening, is the embankment of the Sava River. An interesting feature of Belgrade is that there are many hotels and hostels on the water. In most cities, there are usually cafes and restaurants on the water, and here, these are hotels and hostels. In my opinion, it is very cool and unusual to spend the night in a hotel on the water. You must agree that not every city has such an opportunity. The embankment in Belgrade is beautifully made with modern urban solutions and a separate bike path. It is a pleasure to walk along it. Here's the Belgrade Tower, the main dominant on the embankment. It is a modern 168-meter high-rise building consisting of 42 floors. It is the tallest building in Belgrade, in fact. This building is funny and unusual, and you don't notice it right away. If you look at it from one side, then its lower part is wider and the upper one is narrower. And if you go around it at about an angle of 90 degrees and look from this angle, then it will be the opposite. The lower part will become narrow and the upper one will be wide. Right next to the embankment, there is a prestigious residential area called Waterfront, with very expensive real estate and the largest shopping center in Belgrade called Gallery, where you can find anything, including branded items, all kinds of goods. Even cars are sold there. And right inside, there are several car dealerships, to be honest. This is the first time I've seen cars sold in a shopping center. Next to gallery on the embankment side, there's a whole row of different cafes, restaurants, and hookah bars, which are very crowded in the evening. Serbs love to chill in cafes and can do it for a long time. What else should you definitely see in Belgrade? The Church of St. Sava is the largest Orthodox church in the Balkans. Upon closer inspection, it is very impressive. It is not just big, it is huge. Its height is 77 meters, which is about the height of a 25-story building. The model for the construction was the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, built in the Byzantine style. The finishing work in the temple was carried out by Serbian and Russian craftsmen. The most important part of the interior decoration was the unique mosaic. More than 50 million small details, laid out one-to-one, made up the most beautiful composition of the walls and vaults of the temple. The Church of St. Mark is another beautiful and very impressive temple, located near the center of Belgrade, which makes it convenient to visit. The temple is decorated in the Serbian Byzantine style and is a national cultural monument. This temple was designed based on the model of the Gračanica Monastery, founded in 1315 and included in the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Not far from the confluence of the Sava and Danube rivers is the historical district of Zemun. Previously, it was a separate city, but then with the expansion of the 19th century borders of Belgrade and the development of new districts, Zemun became one of them. Although architecturally it still remains independent with its embankment and main city square. Zemun is very cozy and resembles medieval European cities. And the main point that every self-respecting tourist must climb is the Gardosh Tower, erected in 1896 in honor of the millennium of Hungarian statehood. It is from here that you will see the most beautiful panorama of the Zemun district and the full-flowing Danube. Some tourists who have visited Belgrade call it untidy and completely covered in graffiti. Yes, there is, and in some places quite a lot. But despite the disadvantages, Belgrade is an interesting city to visit, at least for its diverse architecture, beautiful location on two rivers, and there are also a lot of bright and interesting people in Belgrade. My personal criterion for determining cities is simple. Do I want to return to this city after visiting it once or not? If I want to return, then the city is cool and interesting. But if you looked at the city and it did not paint bright emotions in your soul, then this is a one-time visit. I have already been to Belgrade twice and will gladly come for the third time. This is the city that you want to return to, although as I said at the beginning, Belgrade is the very city of contrasts. In some places it surprises you, in some places it irritates you, in some places it delights you. And this filigree play on your emotions does not give you any chance to remain indifferent to the capital of Serbia. By the way, another pleasant impression of the city is the Belgrade trams. There are regular trams running around the city, modern, low floor, and very long. But the cutest thing is these narrow, green, with one headlight in the front, Swiss trams, donated to Belgrade by the Swiss government in the early 2000s as aid for the speedy restoration of the city after the NATO bombings in 1999. In my opinion, these trams fit perfectly into the streets of Belgrade and delight both city residents and tourists with their Swiss elegance.